They say every job has its perks, but you'd be hard-pressed to find them when your morning commute involves shoving a rickety wooden cart stacked with half-rotting corpses down Fleet Street. Ah, London, 1348. The city where the rats are fat, the rivers run brown, and the air smells like a stew of sewage, sweat, and existential dread. Welcome to your first day as an official plague cart pusher. Think of it as the medieval equivalent of an Uber driver, except your passengers don't tip and have a tendency to ooze. Oh, before we get into the real fun, let's break the fourth wall for a second. Hello, traveler. Glad you stumbled in. If you're enjoying this cheerful stroll through history's armpit, do me a favor and follow along. It helps me keep these stories coming, and let's be honest, I need the validation. Drop a comment with your country and what time it is for you, because I bet wherever you are, it smells better than here. All right, back to your regularly scheduled miasma. You are at this very moment clutching the wooden handles of a cart so splintered it's like holding hands with a hedgehog. The wheels creak with every lurch, screaming in protest as you shove the load through the mud-slicked alley. Your hands ache. Your shoulders burn. Your only companion is the constant low buzz of flies orbiting your cargo like they're auditioning for a particularly morbid ballet. You try not to breathe through your nose, but the stench is democratic. It finds every orifice. You're not alone, of course. Ahead, a cluster of men in ragged tunics shout over each other, arguing about whether the pile of bodies at the corner belongs to the parish of St. Dunstan or St. Bride. Territorial disputes, plague edition. One of them, a wiry old bastard called Peter the Rat, notices you. He grins, revealing a mouthful of teeth that look like tombstones after a minor earthquake. Oi, new lad, don't suppose you fancy swapping loads. Mine's gone ripe. You give Peter a look that says you'd rather swallow a handful of leeches. He laughs, a dry, hacking sound that's more cough than chuckle, then resumes his argument with a beefy man holding a shovel like it's a broadsword. This is your new social circle men who can't remember the last time they had a full set of fingers. You trudge on, sloshing through puddles that are at least 60% mystery fluid. Sometimes you think you see something moving in the water, but you don't look too close. The living have enough problems without worrying about aquatic surprises. Your first stop is the hovel of Widow Agnes, a woman who survived 3 husbands, 2 fires, and the general indignity of being named Agnes. She stands in the doorway, face pinched, clutching a rag to her nose. Her son lies on a straw pallet inside, already gone. His skin is a shade of purple that doesn't occur in nature unless you're a grape or a corpse. She nods at you, not bothering with tears. She's run out. You mutter a half-hearted condolence and hoist the boy onto your cart. He's lighter than you expect. You try not to think about why that is. Agnes watches, silent, as you cover him with a stained sheet. You tip your cap, such as it is, a greasy scrap of felt, and move on because there are more calls and fewer answers. You round the corner and nearly collide with 2 children playing with a dead rat like it's a doll. They laugh, shrill and bright, oblivious to the fact that their future is about as secure as a straw roof in a hailstorm. One of them, a red-haired girl with scabby knees, grins up at you. Mister, do you get paid extra if they're smelly? You consider telling her the truth. There's no bonus for stench, only a growing numbness. Instead, you grunt and keep walking. The city is a symphony of misery. church bells tolling for the dead, dogs barking at nothing, the distant clatter of hooves as some fool nobleman tries to outrun the disease in a carriage with velvet curtains. The air is thick, humid with June rot, and every breath tastes like the inside of an old boot. You pause at the bridge over the Fleet River, which is to say, the open sewer that slices the city in half. The water below is so dense with garbage and human waste that it barely qualifies as a liquid. You shove your cart across, wheels catching on the uneven stones, and try not to look at the bloated shape bobbing near the bank. Was it a dog? A man? At this point, does it matter? You meet up with Tom, who's been doing this job longer than you've been alive. He's missing most of his teeth and all of his optimism. He offers you a chunk of bread, which you decline because it's hard to eat when you can still smell. "Don't let it get to you," Tom says, chewing with his mouth open. "They say it's God's punishment, but I reckon God's just bored." You laugh because the alternative is screaming. Tom tells you about the time he found a body with a purse still sewn into the lining of his coat. "Didn't even bother to take it," he says. "That's how you know it's bad. Used to be, you get mugged before you got sick. Now nobody wants to touch you." You and Tom work in silence for a while, loading more bodies onto the cart until it groans under the weight. Your arms are jelly, sweat stings your eyes, the flies are relentless. Every so often you think you feel something crawling inside your shirt, but you don't dare check. Lunchtime comes, if you can call it that. You and Tom sit on a low wall, gnawing on stale bread and drinking something that might once have been ale but now tastes like vinegar with a hint of despair. You swap stories with the other cart pushers whose load was worst, who found the strangest thing in the dead man's pocket last week's winter, a wooden carving of a chicken inexplicably wearing a crown. Peter the rat sidles up, scratching himself with enthusiasm. "Heard they're paying extra if you clear out the leper house down by the docks," he says, eyes gleaming. "Reckon it's worth it?" "Not unless you fancy growing an extra nose," Tom replies dryly. You all laugh because gallows humor is the only thing that keeps you from running into the river and letting the current take you wherever it will. Later, you're sent to a wealthy merchant's house. The contrast is almost funny, if you like that sort of joke. The walls are high, the floor's tiled, but the stink is just as bad. The merchant himself is gone, but his wife, Lady Eleanor, insists on a prayer before you haul his body away. You stand awkwardly, head bowed, while she recites words that mean nothing to you. Her hands shake. Her gown is torn. You wonder how long it will be before she's on your cart, too. You mutter a blessing, because that's what's expected, and wheel the merchant out into the sunlight. The neighbors peek through their shutters, holding sprigs of herbs to their noses. As if rosemary can stop the plague. As if you can stop anything. The day drags on. The cart gets heavier. Your spirit gets lighter in the way that a punctured wineskin gets lighter. You lose track of time, of names, of the line between the living and the dead. Sometimes you think you see your own face among the corpses, your own eyes wide and accusing. But then you blink and it's just another stranger. By sunset, your back is on fire and your hands are blistered. You deliver the last load to the plague pit, a gaping wound in the earth, already half full. The grave digger, a sullen man with a nose like a hawk's beak, barely glances at you. "Tip 'em in," he says, voice flat. You do as you're told. The the bodies land with a dull, wet thud. You look at the pile and wonder how long it would take to fill the hole. A week? A day? The way things are going, it'll be full by morning. You trudge home, if you can call it that. A single room above a tavern where the walls sweat and the bed is more straw than mattress. You peel off your clothes, scrub your hands in a bucket of cold water, and pray you haven't brought anything home except exhaustion. As you lie on your pallet, listening to the city groan and cough around you, you wonder what tomorrow will bring. More carts, more bodies, maybe a little less of your soul. You think of Agnes, of the children with the rat, of Lady Eleanor and her shaking hands. You close your eyes and hope for a dreamless sleep. But even in your dreams, the wheels keep turning. There's a certain kind of quiet that settles over London at night, the sort of hush that only comes when everyone's either dead, dying, or pretending they can't hear the coffin next door. It's not the good kind of quiet, the peaceful, birds nesting, lovers whispering sort. No, it's the sort of quiet that feels like the city is just holding its breath, waiting for something to break. Congratulations! You survived your first day on the carts without losing your lunch or your nerve. Too bad you can't say the same for your appetite or your hope for humanity. Oh, hey there, insomniac or masochist, whichever label fits, still with me. Don't forget to follow if you want more historical nightmares in your feed. Tell me your country and the ungodly hour you're watching this. If you're awake at 3 a.m., you're already halfway to plague cart status. All right, let's get back to the business of surviving. You're in your room, which is generous terminology for a space so cramped you could reach out and slap both walls at once if you had the energy. The straw tick beneath you is lumpy, suspiciously damp in spots, and smells faintly of old cheese. The window one cracked pane and a few boards doesn't so much let in air as it grudgingly exchanges one kind of stink for another. You lie there, staring at the ceiling, counting the cobwebs and wondering if spiders catch fleas. Maybe you should ask Tom tomorrow. He seems the type who'd know. Sleep, when it comes, is not the blissful escape everyone promises. Instead, you get the dream version of your job. Endless alleys, endless bodies, your cart growing heavier and heavier until you're pushing it up a hill that never ends. Sometimes the corpses whisper, sometimes they sing. Sometimes they look like people you know. You wake with a jolt, heart hurling itself against your ribs, and wish you could crawl back into a simpler nightmare. Morning comes with a racket below, someone vomiting into the gutter, a dog barking, the distant clatter of a bell. You sit up, back protesting, and stretch your arms until your shoulders crack like old wood. You dress quickly, trying not to dwell on the fact that your only clean shirt is the one you slept in, and the only socks you own are the ones you can find. You glance at your reflection in a battered bit of tin of face smeared with grime, eyes rimmed red, hair matted and wild. You look, frankly, like someone who spent all night hauling corpses. Fitting. Downstairs in the tavern, the air is thick with the scent of spilled ale and unwashed men. The barkeep, Maud, is already up, slapping dough around with hands the size of hams. She sees you and snorts. "Up early for the worm, are you?" she asks, sliding a mug of something brown your way. You nod, take a sip, and try not to grimace. It's warm, sour, and has a mysterious chunk floating in it. You drink it anyway. Calories are calories. Tom appears, looking only marginally less wretched than you. He grins, a gap-toothed thing that somehow manages to be both friendly and alarming. "Ready for round two?" he asks, clapping you on the back with enough force to make you stagger. The city hasn't run out of dead yet. You and Tom set off together, pushing your empty cart through the early morning mist. The city is quieter now, but not in a peaceful way. It's the hush of people hiding, doors nailed shut, windows dark. Every so often you pass someone shuffling along, face wrapped in a rag, eyes darting. You nod to them. They don't nod back. Social niceties have taken a holiday. Your first stop is a cramped alley behind a butcher's shop. The butcher himself is gone. Rumor says he coughed up blood for 3 days before vanishing in the night. His apprentice, a boy of maybe 14, is waiting by the door, eyes wide and rimmed with fear. He points you to a back room without a word. Inside, you find the butcher's wife and 2 daughters, all curled together on a low pallet, skin mottled, mouths open. You take a deep breath, steel yourself, and start your work. Tom handles the heavy lifting this time, humming a tuneless song as he hoists the bodies onto the cart. The apprentice watches, silent, clutching a cleaver to his chest like it's a talisman. You meet his gaze. He looks away. You wonder if he'll last the week. Out on the street, you catch up with Peter the Rat, who's already got a full load and a new hat, a battered felt thing, clearly pilfered from some unfortunate soul. "Nice morning for it," he says, voice thick with sarcasm. "Sun's out, birds are dead, and the rats are running the place. Just how I like it." You resist the urge to ask how many hats he's collected this week. Some questions are better left unanswered. Your second stop is the convent. Nuns, it turns out, are not immune to the Black Death, no matter how many prayers they say. Sister Margaret, the oldest and sternest of the lot, meets you at the gate. She's got a face that could curdle milk and a voice like gravel. "Take them gently," she says, glaring at you as if you personally invented the plague. They were good women. You and Tom move through the dormitory, lifting bodies with as much care as you can muster. The nuns look peaceful, at least, or maybe you're just getting used to it. Sister Margaret follows you out, hands clenched around a rosary. She murmurs a blessing as you leave. You try to feel comforted, but all you feel is tired. By midday, your cart is full, and you're sweating through your shirt. You stop for a quick lunch, if a hunk of bread and a sliver of cheese qualify as such. Tom shares a story about the time he tried to join the city watch. "Didn't last a week," he says, grinning. "Too honest. Turns out they don't like it when you actually arrest the alderman's son." You laugh, surprised at the sound. It feels good, even if it's just a brief distraction. The afternoon is a blur of alleys, hovels, and silent doorways. You start to recognize faces people you passed yesterday, now slumped in doorways or sprawled in the street. You try not to think about it. You try not to think at all. You make a stop at the apothecary's shop, a cluttered little place that smells of herbs and desperation. The apothecary himself is alive for now, but his assistant is not. You and Tom carry the body out while the apothecary mutters about bad air and angry spirits. He offers you a vial of something to keep the plague away, he says, eyes wide and wild. It smells like vinegar and burnt garlic. You take it, tuck it into your pocket, and make a mental note not to drink it unless things get truly desperate. By the time you reach the plague pit, the sun is setting and your muscles are screaming. The grave digger is there, same as before, shoveling earth with the slow, steady rhythm of someone who's seen too much. He nods at you, a grim acknowledgement, and gestures for you to tip the bodies in. You do, trying not to look at the faces, trying not to see yourself among them. On the way back through the city, you pass a group of flagellants, wild-eyed men and women dressed in rags, whipping themselves bloody and chanting prayers. They move through the streets like a living wound, drawing a crowd of gawkers and the occasional stone. Tom spits on the ground. "Idiots," he mutters. "Think a bit of blood'll make God change his mind." You shrug. At this point, you'd try anything. You drop Tom off at his lodging, a cellar beneath a cobbler's shop. He waves, promises to save you a seat at the tavern, and disappears inside. You watch him go, feeling oddly alone. The city feels bigger at night, emptier. You head home, one foot in front of the other, mind numb. Back in your room, you wash your hands in the bucket, watching the water turn gray. You stare at your reflection again, wondering if you look any different, maybe a little older, maybe a little harder. You lie down, close your eyes, and listen to the sounds of the city, the distant bells, the barking dogs, the ever-present cough. Sleep comes slowly, dragging you down into dreams of endless carts and bottomless pits. You wake in the middle of the night, heart pounding, sweat slick on your skin. For a moment, you think you hear voices whispering in the darkness, but it's just the wind, or maybe the ghosts of the city. You roll over, pull your blanket tight, and try to forget. The next morning, you wake to the sound of footsteps outside your door. You sit up, heart thumping, and listen. There's a knock, a soft, hesitant tap. You open the door to find a girl, maybe 12, standing there. She's clutching a bundle to her chest, eyes wide and red-rimmed. "Please," she says, voice barely more than a whisper. "My mom, she's not waking up." You nod, step into your boots, and follow her through the narrow streets. She leads you to a tiny room above a bakery, where her mother lies on a straw pallet, skin flushed and slick with sweat. She's still breathing, but barely. You kneel beside her, feeling helpless. What are you supposed to do? You're not a healer. You're just the one who comes after. The girl kneels beside you, clutching your hand. "She's all I've got," she whispers. You squeeze her hand, wishing you had something to say. Instead, you sit with her, listening to her mother's ragged breaths until the sun rises and the city wakes. When the end comes, it's quiet. The girl doesn't cry. She just sits there, staring at the wall. You help her wrap her mother in a blanket, carry her down the stairs, and load her gently onto the cart. The girl walks beside you, silent, all the way to the pit. When it's done, she turns to you. "Thank you," she says, voice flat. Then she walks away, disappearing into the city. You watch her go, feeling something twist inside you. You wonder if you'll see her again, or if she'll end up on your cart in a few days. You wonder if it would matter. You spend the afternoon with Tom, moving through the city like ghosts. You talk less now, there's nothing left to say. You see Peter the Rat arguing with a priest over who gets to claim a body left by the river. You see the flagellants again, moving through the streets, their backs raw and bleeding. You see children playing in the mud, oblivious to the danger. As the sun sets, you sit on the low wall outside the tavern, watching the city glow gold in the fading light. Tom sits beside you, silent, picking at a loaf of bread. After a while, he speaks. "You think it'll end?" he asks, voice soft. "Or is this just how things are now? You don't know. You shake your head. Maybe, you say. Maybe not. We just keep going. Tom nods, as if that's answer enough. You sit together in the quiet, watching the city breathe. That night, you lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the city. You think about the girl, about Agnes, about Lady Eleanor and the nuns. You think about the bodies, the cart, the pit. You wonder how many more days you can do this. You wonder if it matters. Sleep comes, finally dragging you down into dreams of endless alleys and silent streets. You wake with a start, heart pounding, and realize it's morning again. Another day, another cart. You get up, dress, and head out into the city, ready to do it all over again. Congratulations, you're still alive. For now. If hope is the thing with feathers, yours is a plucked pigeon roasting on someone else's spit. Good morning, or what passes for it in London 1348, where the sun rises reluctantly behind a curtain of smoke and the city wakes up already tired. Oh, and before we descend into another day of delightful communal decay, a quick word from your friendly narrator in the ether. Still here, still breathing. Click that follow or subscribe button to ensure I keep spinning tales of woe for your insomnia and amusement. Drop a comment with your country and current time, if only so I can marvel at how you're not stuck in a plague pit right now. Back to your regularly scheduled suffering. You drag yourself out of bed, or what passes for bed, with the grace of a sack of potatoes being thrown down a flight of stairs. Your joints ache. Your mouth tastes like you licked the bottom of a boot. Outside, the city is already alive with the sounds of misery, coughing, haggling, the wet slap of someone emptying a chamber pot into the street. The air is thick and sour, impossible to ignore. You splash your face with water from the bucket, its surface already filmed with something mysterious and probably alive, then stagger downstairs. Maud, the barkeep, watches you from behind the bar, arms folded across her chest, expression somewhere between amusement and pity. You look worse than a boiled rat, she says, voice rough as gravel. You grunt, which is about as much conversation as you can muster before breakfast. She slides you a heel of bread and a mug of whatever passes for ale this week. You eat, because hunger is worse than taste. Tom is waiting outside, picking at his teeth with a splinter and humming tunelessly. Ready for another round, then? He asks. You nod, because what else is there to do? Nobody's getting out of this, not really. Not you, not Tom, not the city. The cart awaits, faithful as ever, its wheels caked with yesterday's filth and a fresh bouquet of flies swirling above it. You set off, muscles protesting with every step. Tom walks beside you, silent for once. The city passes by in a haze of gray stone, shuttered windows, and faces that look away rather than risk meeting your gaze. Nobody wants to catch what you're carrying, even if it's just bad luck. First stop, a row of tenements near the river where the stench is so thick you swear you could peel it off the walls and sell it by the slab. A woman leans out of a second-story window, hollering down, "He's in the back, next to the stove, and mind the cat it bites." You trudge inside, ducking under sagging beams and past a child with a nose so runny it could irrigate a field. The body is where she said, curled on the dirt floor, hand still clutching a wooden spoon. You and Tom lift him, careful not to jostle the cat, who watches with narrowed eyes and a tail twitching like it's plotting revenge. On the street, Peter the rat is already at work, cart piled high and a new limp in his step. "Morning, gentlemen. Fancy a wager. Last one to fill their cart buys the first round. He flashes a grin. The gap where his front teeth used to be now occupied by a mottled piece of rag. Tom shakes his head. Ain't enough ale in London to make this day go down easy. Peter cackles, then coughs so hard you half expect a lung to join the party. You keep moving. As the morning drags on, you fall into a rhythm. Knock, collect, load, repeat. Some doors open with silent resignation, others not at all. Sometimes you find a body slumped in the street, face down in a puddle already half dissolved by the city's tender caress. You and Tom stop talking. There's nothing left to say that hasn't already been said, and besides, words are wasted on the dead. But then, something different. In front of a crumbling bakery, you see the girl from yesterday, the one who lost her mother. She's sitting on the step, knees drawn up, eyes blank. She looks smaller, somehow, like part of her's shriveled up and blown away. You pause, unsure what to say. Tom nudges you. Go on. She knows you. You sit beside her, careful not to crowd. You all right? You ask, instantly regretting the stupidity of the question. She shrugs, picking at a loose thread in her skirt. Got nowhere to go. Bakery man says I'm bad luck. You nod. She is by any rational measure. But so are you. So is everyone. You reach into your pocket and hand her a crust of bread. She takes it, eyes flicking up to meet yours for just a second. Thank you, she murmurs, voice barely audible. You sit in silence for a while, watching the street empty and fill, like the city's lungs wheezing through another day. Eventually, she stands. I'm going to find my aunt, she says, not sounding convinced. You watch her walk away, a small figure swallowed by the city. You hope she finds someone. You hope you do too. Lunch is another quiet affair on the low wall outside the tavern, Maud's bread sweating in the heat. Tom's stories growing shorter, darker, more bitter. Used to be, he says. You'd hear laughter in these streets. Now it's just coughing and crying. He squints at you. You got any family? You shake your head. Not anymore. He nods, as if that's the only answer that makes sense these days. The afternoon brings a new horror, a call to the house of a parish priest rumored to be immune. You push the cart through a tangle of alleyways, the buildings pressing close, shadows pooling like spilled ink. Inside, the priest is still alive, but barely. His skin is blotched, eyes sunken, breath rattling in his chest. He looks up as you enter, a flicker of recognition, or maybe just resignation in his gaze. You come for me, then? He asks, voice thin as parchment. Not yet, Tom replies, but soon by the look of you. The priest laughs, a sound that turns into a cough. Bless you, then. May your burdens be light. You nod, feeling the weight of irony settle on your shoulders like a second coat. You leave, the priest's words echoing in your head. May your burdens be light. You want to laugh, but all that comes out is a sigh. By late afternoon, the city feels different. The heat is oppressive, pressing down from above, baking the filth into a crust that cracks underfoot. You pass a group of boys playing in the street, kicking a ball made of rags. One of them calls out, "Plague man, got any room on your cart?" The others laugh, shrill and wild. You wave them off, but the joke sticks. You wonder how long before they're not laughing anymore. You make another stop at the convent. Sister Margaret meets you at the gate. Her face is drawn, eyes red. "Two more," she says, voice flat. You follow her inside, the air thick with incense and something sweeter rot, maybe, or grief. The nuns lie side by side, hands folded, faces peaceful. You lift them gently, feeling a strange kind of reverence. Sister Margaret watches, lips moving in silent prayer. As you leave, she presses a scrap of cloth into your hand. For luck, she whispers. You tuck it away. You need all the luck you can get. The cart is heavy by the time you reach the pit. The gravedigger is already there, shovel flashing in the evening sun. He nods at you, sweat streaking his face. Busy day, he says. You grunt, tipping the bodies in. The pit is deeper now, the sides caving in, the earth slick and treacherous. You wonder how long before they run out of room or out of people to dig. The grave digger leans on his shovel, watching the sky. Reckon it'll rain tonight, he says. Wash some of this away. You look up. The sky is bruised, swollen with clouds. You hope he's right. On the way back, Tom stops at a stall selling onions and garlic, the air thick with their sharp scent. The vendor is a woman with arms like tree trunks and a face that could sour milk at 50 paces. Keeps the plague away, she insists, shoving a string of garlic at Tom. He shrugs, takes it, and drapes it around his neck like a medal. Worth a try, he mutters, handing you a bulb. You pocket it, more for the gesture than any real hope. You part ways with Tom at the corner. He claps you on the shoulder, his hand heavy. See you tomorrow if the rats don't get me first. You nod, watching him disappear into the gloom, alone again. Back at the tavern, Maud eyes you as you drag yourself inside. Another hard day, she asks. You nod, sinking onto a bench. She pours you a mug, sliding it across the bar with a practiced flick. You want stew? She asks. Or just bread? You go for the stew, even though you know better. It's thin, gray, and suspiciously lumpy, but it's warm. You eat in the silence, listening to the low murmur of the other patrons. Most keep to themselves, eyes fixed on their drinks. You recognize a few faces. The butcher's apprentice, now alone. The apothecary, hands trembling as he lifts his cup. A woman you saw wailing over her husband's body just days ago. This is your world now. The survivors, the lost, the nearly gone. Afterwards, you climb the stairs to your room, legs heavy, head spinning. You wash your hands in the bucket, the water now almost black. You stare at your reflection in the cracked tin. You look older, harder. You wonder if there's anything left of the person you used to be. Sleep is slow to come. When it does, it's fitful, broken by dreams of endless carts and bottomless pits, bodies piling up faster than you can move them. You wake in the night, heart pounding, breath ragged. For a moment, you think you hear someone whispering outside your door. You sit up, listening. Nothing but the wind, or maybe the ghosts of the city. You lie back, staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks. You wonder how many more days you can do this. You wonder if it matters. Morning comes, as it always does, dragging you out of bed and into another day. You dress, eat, and head out into the city, cart creaking behind you. Tom is waiting, garlic necklace already wilting. Ready? He asks. You nod. What else is there to do? Today's first stop is a boarding house near the market. The landlord meets you at the door, wringing his hands. Got 3 upstairs, he says, voice trembling. Didn't pay their rent, but I suppose that's no matter now. You and Tom climb the stairs, the boards creaking underfoot. The room is cramped, airless, the bodies already stiff. You work quickly, not wanting to linger. On the street, you see Peter the rat darting between carts, his hat pulled low, a sack slung over his shoulder. "Morning, lads," he calls, waving. "Anyone want to buy a pair of boots? Hardly worn." Tom snorts. "Where'd you get them?" Peter grins. "Don't ask. Better that way." You shake your head. In another life, Peter would have been hanged by now. Here, he's just another part of the scenery. You move through the city, the day blurring into a series of stops. A tailor's shop, silent and empty. A tavern where the owner lies slumped over the bar, mug still clutched in one lifeless hand. A house where the entire family is gone, the door left swinging in the wind. Each time you load the bodies onto the cart. Each time the weight grows heavier. At midday, you pause in the shadow of St. Paul's, the bells tolling for the dead. Tom sits beside you, rubbing his eyes. "You ever think about leaving?" he asks. You shrug. "Where would I go?" He nods, looking out over the city. Nowhere to run. Plagues everywhere. You sit in silence, listening to the bells. In the afternoon, a new development. A group of townsfolk gathered around a man who claims to have a cure. He stands on a barrel, waving a vial of green liquid. "Drink this and be saved," Dully shouts. The crowd murmurs, uncertain. You and Tom watch from a distance. "Think it works?" Tom asks, eyebrow raised. You shake your head. "Think he'll be alive tomorrow?" Tom grins. "Doubt it." As you move on, you see the man's assistant slip away. Pockets jingling. Some things never change. The day drags on, the cart filling, your arms aching. By evening, you're back at the pit, the gravedigger waiting, shovel in hand. You tip the bodies in, watching them tumble into the darkness. The pit is deeper now, the sides crumbling. You wonder how long before the earth gives way entirely. On the way home, you pass the girl from the bakery. She's sitting on the step, eyes closed, face turned to the sky. She looks peaceful, or maybe just empty. You pause, unsure what to say. She opens her eyes, sees you, and smiles, a small, sad thing. "Found my aunt," she says. "She's sick, but alive." You nod, relief and sorrow tangled together. "Take care," you say. She nods. "You too?" Back at the tavern, Maud pours you a drink without asking. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she says. You shrug. "Maybe I have." She laughs, a rough sound. "Plenty of them around these days." You climb the stairs to your room, the city quiet below. You wash your hands, stare at your reflection. You look older, harder, but still here. Sleep comes, eventually, dragging you down into dreams of endless carts and bottomless pits. You wake in the night, heart pounding, breath ragged. For a moment, you think you hear someone whispering outside your door. You lie back, staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks. You wonder how many more days you can do this. You wonder if it matters. Morning comes, as it always does, dragging you out of bed and into another day. You dress, eat, and head out into the city, cart creaking behind you. Tom is waiting, garlic necklace already wilting. "Ready?" he asks. You nod. What else is there to do? Today's first stop is a boarding house near the market. The landlord meets you at the door, wringing his hands. "Got 3 upstairs," he says, voice trembling. "Didn't pay their rent, but I suppose that's no matter now." You and Tom climb the stairs, the boards creaking underfoot. The room is cramped, airless, the bodies already stiff. You work quickly, not wanting to linger. On the street, you see Peter the Rat darting between carts, his hat pulled low, a sack slung over his shoulder. "Morning, lads," he calls, waving. "Anyone want to buy a pair of boots? Hardly worn." Tom snorts. "Where'd you get them?" Peter grins. "Don't ask. Better that way." You shake your head. In another life, Peter would have been hanged by now. Here, he's just another part of the scenery. You move through the city, the day blurring into a series of stops. A tailor's shop, silent and empty. A tavern where the owner lies, slumped over the bar, mug still clutched in one lifeless hand. A house where the entire family is gone, the door left swinging in the wind. Each time, you load the bodies onto the cart. Each time the weight grows heavier. At midday, you pause in the shadow of St. Paul's, the bells tolling for the dead. Tom sits beside you, rubbing his eyes. You ever think about leaving? He asks. You shrug. Where would I go? He nods, looking out over the city. Nowhere to run. Plagues everywhere. You sit in silence, listening to the bells. In the afternoon, a new development. A group of townsfolk gathered around a man who claims to have a cure. He stands on a barrel, waving a vial of green liquid. Drink this and be saved, he shouts. The crowd murmurs uncertain. You and Tom watch from a distance. Think it works? Tom asks, eyebrow raised. You shake your head. Think he'll be alive tomorrow? Tom grins. Doubt it. As you move on, you see the man's assistant slip away, pockets jingling. Some things never change. The day drags on, the cart filling, your arms aching. By evening, you're back at the pit, the grave digger waiting, shovel in hand. You tip the bodies in, watching them tumble into the darkness. The pit is deeper now, the sides crumbling. You wonder how long before the earth gives way entirely. On the way home, you pass the girl from the bakery. She's sitting on the step, eyes closed, face turned to the sky. She looks peaceful, or maybe just empty. You pause, unsure what to say. She opens her eyes, sees you, and smiles a small, sad thing. Found my aunt, she says. She's sick, but alive. You nod, relief and sorrow tangled together. Take care, you say. She nods. You too. Back at the tavern, Maud pours you a drink without asking. You look like you've seen a ghost, she says. You shrug. Maybe I have. She laughs, a rough sound. Plenty of them around these days. You climb the stairs to your room, the city quiet below. You wash your hands, stare at your reflection. You look older, harder, but still here. Sleep comes, eventually, dragging you down into dreams of endless carts and bottomless pits. You wake in the night, heart pounding, breath ragged. For a moment, you think you hear someone whispering outside your door. You lie back, staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks. You wonder how many more days you can do this. You wonder if it matters. You ever wonder if the city itself gets tired of the smell? Maybe one day London will cough just once, and the whole lot of you will slide right into the Thames. But not today. The city's still here somehow, and so are you. Hello again, you marvelous glutton for punishment, still keeping up with this cheerful saga. If you haven't followed or subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? A free trip to the plague pit. Drop your country and the time in the comments so I can marvel at your questionable life choices. Now, back to your regularly scheduled despair. You wake up before the sun, jolted out of a half-sleep by the unmistakable sound of Maud slamming something heavy onto the bar downstairs. Maybe a barrel. Maybe a particularly stubborn customer. You're not sure. You stare at the ceiling, tracing cracks that look suspiciously like a map of your own misery. Then swing your legs over the side of the bed. The straw pokes you through the thin blanket, and for a moment, you wonder if you'll ever get used to that particular discomfort. Probably. You get used to anything, given enough time and not enough options. Your clothes, such as they are, hang limply from a peg by the door. They're not clean. They haven't been clean in weeks. But they're dry, which counts for something. You pull them on, feeling the familiar itch start up along your ribs and splash water on your face. The water is cold and smells faintly of onions. You don't ask why. You just accept it, like everything else. Downstairs, Maud is wrestling with a barrel, her arms corded with muscle. She sees you and grunts. Early again, either you're eager or you're mad. You give her a smile that's more grimace than anything else. Both, probably. She snorts, reaching under the bar for a crust of bread and a mug. Don't say I never did anything for you. The bread is hard, the ale is sour, but your stomach doesn't care. You eat quickly, chewing until your jaw aches. Tom is waiting outside, already stretching his back, hands pressed into the small of it. His garlic necklace has been replaced with a fresh one, the bulbs fat and white. Keeps the miasma off, he says, though you both know it's a lie. You nod anyway. Ritual is all you've got some days. The cart looks worse than usual, one wheel wobbling dangerously. Tom gives it a kick, and it settles, for now. It'll hold, he says, not sounding convinced. You grab the handles, feeling the familiar scrape of wood against callus, and set off. The city is shrouded in mist, the kind that clings to your skin and soaks through your clothes. You can't see more than a few feet ahead, which is a blessing, really. Less to look at, less to remember. You move through the streets like ghosts, your footsteps muffled by the damp. First stop, the tanner's yard. If you thought the city smelled bad, you've never stood outside a tannery in summer. The stench is thick and oily, a wall of rot and piss and something chemical that burns your eyes. The tanner himself is gone, but his apprentice, a boy with a face full of boils, meets you at the gate. He's in the back, he says, voice flat, slipped in the vat. You and Tom exchange a look. Neither of you says what you're thinking. You find the body slumped over the edge of a barrel, skin stained a mottled brown. Tom grabs the legs, you take the shoulders, and together you heave him onto the cart. The boy watches, arms folded, eyes hard. You wonder how long before he's next. Back on the street, the mist is lifting, the city emerging in all its glory, or what passes for it. You pass Peter the rat, who's arguing with a fishmonger over the price of a half-rotten carp. It's still good, Peter insists, waving the fish like a flag. The fishmonger shakes his head. You eat it, then. Peter grins. Maybe I will. You keep walking. Some things are too grim even for you. Next stop, the home of Lady Eleanor. You remember her, the merchant's wife, all silk and sorrow. She opens the door herself, her face pale, eyes rimmed with red. It's my daughter, she whispers, voice trembling. She was fine yesterday. You follow her inside, the room still tidy, the floor swept. The girl lies on her bed, hands folded, hair spread out like a fan. She looks asleep. You wish she was. Lady Eleanor stands by the door, wringing her hands. She wanted to be a singer, she says, as if that matters now. You nod, not trusting yourself to speak. You and Tom wrap the girl in a sheet, lifting her gently. Lady Eleanor watches, silent, lips pressed tight. As you leave, she presses a coin into your hand. For your trouble, she says. You want to refuse, but you don't. You need it. Everyone does. On the street, Tom turns the coin over in his hand. Guilt money, he says. You shrug. Still spends. The day drags on, each stop blending into the next. An old man slumped in a chair, a mother and two children curled together on a pallet, a baker face down in a pile of flour. You move through it all with numb efficiency, muscles aching, mind drifting. At midday, you stop in the shadow of a ruined church. The bells are silent now, the tower cracked and leaning. Tom sits beside you, pulling a strip of dried meat from his pocket. "You ever think about before?" he asks, chewing thoughtfully. "Before all this?" You nod. "Not much point." Tom laughs, a low, bitter sound. "Suppose not. Just hurts more." You eat in silence, the city buzzing around you. After lunch, a commotion in the square draws your attention. A crowd is gathered, voices raised in anger. In the center, a man is tied to a post, hands bound behind his back. "Thief!" someone shouts. "He stole from the dead." The crowd jeers, throwing bits of bread and rotten fruit. The man's face is bruised, eyes swollen shut. You recognize him? A cart pusher from the next parish over. Tom shakes his head. Desperate times. You watch as the bailiff steps forward, swinging a club. The crowd cheers as the man is dragged away. Justice, plague edition. You move on, the incident lingering in your mind. The lines between right and wrong, life and death, have blurred. Maybe they never existed at all. In the afternoon, you're sent to the leper house by the docks. Peter the rat meets you outside, his grin even wider than usual. "You lads up for a bonus?" he asks, waving a scrap of parchment. "Council's paying double." Tom snorts. "Not worth it." Peter shrugs. "Suit yourself." You watch as he disappears inside, sack slung over his shoulder. You wonder if you'll see him again. The leper house is a low, crumbling building, the walls streaked with mold. The air inside is thick, heavy, with the scent of rot and fear. The residents shuffle past, faces hidden behind rags. You collect the bodies quickly, not lingering. Tom ties a rag over his nose, eyes watering. "God help us," he mutters. You nod, not trusting your voice. By evening, the cart is full, your arms trembling with exhaustion. You make your way to the pit, the sun sinking behind the rooftops. The grave digger is there, as always, shovel in hand. He nods as you approach. "Lot of work today," he says. You grunt, tipping the bodies in. The pit is nearly full, the sides caving in, the earth slick and treacherous. You wonder how long before it swallows you too. On the way back, you pass the apothecary's shop. The door's ajar, the shelves bare. Inside, the apothecary sits at his table, head in his hands. He looks up as you enter, eyes red. "It's gone," he says. "Everything. I can't help anyone." You sit beside him, silent. There's nothing to say. Tom stands in the doorway, arms folded. After a while, the apothecary stands, wiping his eyes. "Thank you," he says, voice barely above a whisper, "for listening." You nod. Sometimes that's all you can do. Back at the tavern, Maud pours you a drink without asking. "Rough day," she says. You nod, sinking onto a bench. The air is thick with the scent of stew, sweat, and despair. Tom joins you, rolling his shoulders. "One more day," he says. "Just one more." You want to believe him. You want to believe there's an end. As you eat, a commotion outside draws your attention. Voices raised, footsteps pounding. You step to the door, peering into the street. A group of men is dragging something, a body, maybe more, toward the river. You watch, numb, as they toss it into the water. The current carries it away out of sight. Tom stands beside you, silent. "Plague's in the river now," he says. You shrug. "Wasn't it always?" Later, in your room, you wash your hands in the bucket. the water dark and gritty. You stare at your reflection in the cracked tin, searching for something hope, maybe, or just reason. You find nothing. You lie on your bed, listening to the city breathe. Sleep comes slowly, dragging you down into dreams of endless carts, bottomless pits, faces you can't remember. You wake in the night, heart pounding, sweat slick on your skin. For a moment, you think you hear voices, whispers in the dark, calling your name. You close your eyes, willing them to stop. Morning comes, reluctant as ever. You dress, eat, and head out. The cart waiting. Tom is there, garlic necklace limp, eyes tired. Ready? He asks. You nod. What else is there to say? The days blur together, each one a copy of the last. Bodies, carts, pits. The city shrinks, the streets emptier, the silence heavier. You see the girl from the bakery once, standing in a doorway, her aunt beside her. She waves. You wave back. Small mercies. One afternoon, as you pass the convent, Sister Margaret meets you at the gate. She looks older, her face lined with grief. No more today, she says, voice soft. We're all that's left. You nod, pressing the scrap of cloth she gave you to your lips. Luck, or something like it. As the weeks pass, the city changes. The crowds thin, the markets quiet. The bells toll less often, the pits fill slower. You see Peter the Rat, once, limping down the street, his hat gone, eyes hollow. He nods as you pass, silent greeting. Tom grows quieter, his stories fewer. One night, over stew, he looks at you, eyes bright. You think it's ending, he asks. You shrug. Maybe. He smiles, a small, tired thing. Be nice, wouldn't it? You nod. It would. The air grows colder, the days shorter. You wrap your coat tighter, breath steaming in the morning chill. The city feels different, emptier, maybe, or just quieter. You pass Maud on the street, her arms full of bread. She smiles, nodding. Still here, she says. You grin, for now. One evening, you find yourself at the edge of the river, watching the water flow. The city is quiet behind you, the sky streaked with orange and purple. You close your eyes, listening to the water, the wind, the distant toll of a bell. For a moment, you feel something. Peace, maybe, or just the absence of pain. You open your eyes, watching the current carry debris downstream. You wonder where it's going. You wonder if it matters. As the months pass, the plague loosens its grip. The pits fill slower, the carts lighter. The city stirs, cautious, uncertain. You see children playing in the street, laughter rising. You see shops open, windows unshuttered. You see hope, fragile, flickering. Tom stands beside you, arms folded. We made it, he says, voice soft. You nod, not trusting yourself to speak. You look at your hands, scarred and calloused, and wonder what comes next. One night, as you lie in bed, you listen to the city. The bells, the dogs, the distant hum of life returning. You close your eyes, feeling the weight lift just a little. You breathe, slow and deep, and let the darkness carry you. Congratulations. You survived. For now. And if you're still here listening to this history lesson from hell, don't forget to follow, subscribe, or whatever button keeps my rambling voice in your ears at 3 in the morning. Tell me where you're from, and if you made it this far, tell me if you'd have lasted a day pushing plague carts in Thuran to 48. Be honest. I won't judge. After all, we're all just trying to make it through the night. One miserable, magnificent, plague-ridden day at a time.